And we are live. And let's welcome in everyone. If you're just joining us, my name is Scott Wilkinson. I'm a professional body piercer. Been piercing since about 1994. I own a piercing studio in Las Vegas called Piercing Vegas. And this is Kelsey. She's my other piercer.
Hello.
So Kelsey, you've been piercing for a little while now, haven't you?
Almost 10 years now.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm just opening up our live stream here so we can, there, Christine says hi. Hi, Christine. How are you doing today?
Hi.
All right. So let's see if I, nope, can't do that because that, yeah, shrink this back up. I do this every single time. One of these times I'm going to get really good at like just knowing.
Bada bing, pop, 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 cha.
Yep. All right. So basically what we do here is we take piercing questions and we have you ask as thoroughly as possible, because when you are asking a thorough question, we can answer it to the best of our abilities. So do we have any questions? Oh, we have a couple more people. Gloria Fletcher says hi. B says hi. HR, hey, what's up, HR? And Minoki Mar, hey guys. And Monica Ewa Peterson, hey guys, so nice to see you. So nice to have you back. Amelia, I'm so bad at reading names. I try and I just butchered names. I apologize, people. Hi, everyone. Robbins, there, now we got sound again. I don't know why.
Sound is gone.
No, it's back again.
Okay.
It keeps going
There we
back
go.
and forth here. We're getting our sound. I apologize for this. I'm not sure why our sound is, to me, it sounds like everything's back to normal again. I can hear it in my earphones when it goes out. I heard it just as you guys said it too, so.
Okay, now we can hear.
Everyone can hear good now again? Cool, cool. So we're going to go back up to the first question, which is going to be, what is the pain level of an industrial piercing? Gloria Fletcher was asking. And how would you answer this, Kelsey?
So speaking from personal experience, the industrial piercing really wasn't that bad, to be completely honest. It is 2 piercings, 1 piece of jewelry. The healing process was absolutely the worst part. I am a side sleeper. I tend to rotate back and forth between ears throughout my sleep. So that was one of the piercings that it definitely took a little over a year to heal. And then after it healed, I started taking it out to sleep. Mm-hmm. And then I just kept forgetting to put it back in. So it was kind of a waste of a year and a half heal time.
You know, I think the thing is like, the piercing itself really isn't that bad. I mean, it's 2 piercings in one. It hurts a little bit, but it's tolerable. It's just that it takes so long to heal and you're sleeping on it. And it's like, you know, if you had a bruise and I'm constantly pushing the bruise, it hurts. And if it's on your ear and you're sleeping on it every night, you're constantly pushing that bruise. So it's just like, it just takes a long time to heal. So that's generally the worst of it. So it kind of depends on the piercer though, too. I mean, because you pierce at wrong angles and you're doing improper aftercare, it's going to be brutal. So make sure you go to a good quality piercer. This is not an amateur piercing. A lot of people think this is one of the basics, and it's not. It's a difficult piercing to do. So, and silently judging you. They're judging you, not me. Okay. They're just saying hello. Hello.
Hi.
And Will Jones, send another message because it says message retracted. We do have a thing on here that says stop any inappropriate messages. I'm sure it's not inappropriate, but sometimes the content we ask is actually seems or deems inappropriate. So I might have to turn that back off one of these days and see if this keeps happening. So I've just seen it more and more recently. Sorry about that, Will. So just ask your question again. And Minoki Mars says, sound cut off, guys. Yeah. I think we're back to normal again here, so I think
so there's a lot more about sound.
I'm just getting caught back up. Okay.
And then Clive Newman asks, will my nipple piercings affect X-rays, MRI, or metal detectors?
Yes.
Yes.
And no.
And no. It really depends on the material. So implant grade titanium, for the most part, will not affect anything like that, you should be able to get MRIs as well as Xrays with titanium and metal detectors. I've never really heard of a piercing setting off a metal detector.
It did back in the day, but we wore a lot more steel jewelry and a lot of lower quality jewelry.
Right.
And I'm not sure if metal detectors have like stepped it up a little tiny bit. But, you know, here's the one thing. It's like, the metal detectors, things like that, they're not going to affect your piercings. But if you're looking like an MRI or CAT scan or CT scan or whatever it might be, and if it's in the area you're looking, that is where the problem's going to be. So
right, because you'll be able to see the jewelry in the picture.
It's going to block what they can see, but they're not going to get magnetized and get ripped out of your skin. If it's high quality titanium, it won't be affected whatsoever.
I actually just had a client send me photos of, she had some dental work done and they did X-rays on her mouth, and you can, I think is lip or nostril piercings, but you can see the jewelry in the photos, and it looks really cool.
If you look stuff up on Google, you can see some cool stuff with that. And then as far as metal detectors, I have 4-gauge titanium nipple rings in my nipples, and whenever I go to the airport, they never beep. They used to, but it was...
I've had mine pierced for about 13 years. I've never really had to take jewelry out for anything, even X-rays and stuff, so no.
All right. And tell us something. We hear now. Now we hear. Dyslexia kicks in. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds good to me, and I should be able to see that. But thank you for letting us know, everyone. I appreciate that. Christine says, I'm really wanting my vert. By the way, I just want to back up. Sorry, Christine. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but we did start an hour earlier than normal. This is normal. We're doing this so we can actually get Kelsey in here for the full 2 hours today instead of just the hour and then having to leave. So we're going to be cutting. We're going to be done by probably about 1:15, somewhere around there today. So get your questions in soon so we can get to them. And back to Christine again. I'm sorry about that. Says, I'm really wanting a vertical abret piercing, but I'm a little hesitant to get in the way of intimacy while healing. I have 30 plus piercings, but not a lip ones. Any thoughts or tips? Kelsey, go.
So,
I haven't had enough coffee. Oral piercings and intimacy. Like, it depends on, I guess, the levels of intimacy. I do not at all recommend even anyone's saliva, just bodily fluids in general, but someone's saliva near your fresh piercing can cause some healing issues, bacterial stuff. You can get infections. It is an open wound. So, like, let's say this person has something that would then contract something through an open wound. You're then at risk of contracting said issue. So correct. And I generally tell people just limit to pecs until it's more healed up.
Little baby bird kisses.
I consider most piercings an open wound for about a month.
Yeah.
It's generally not an open wound that long, but if you play the month, you're playing it safe. Okay, so pecs for that, and then after that, use common sense. You know, it's like if it's a brand new partner or something like that, it's like it's still kind of at risk. So you just got to be more careful. If
you have the same partner or partners, it's kind of a little bit more okay. I mean, but you understand your own body. If it hurts, don't do it.
There's just more of a risk of an infection instead of like STDs and things like that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, not necessarily to do with STDs, just in general, just prolonged healing process, bacterial infections, all sorts of things. So just be cautious.
And here's the other thing. It's the general rule of thumb with piercings. I need to get a shirt that says, if it hurts, don't do it.
Yep, exactly.
It's that simple. So,
if it hurts, stop doing it. Give it a little bit more time.
Great question. No, thank you, Christine. All right. D-Rod528. Hey, y'all. What's up, man?
Hello.
And Ronald Rosser, I thought it was on my... Yeah. I wasn't sure. I was like tapping my earphones and I'm like, are they all the way in yet? Or it's like, yeah. Okay. So, I just lost my spot. I need to start...
Ooh.
We got some questions. We need to start moving a little bit.
HR. My girlfriend got her VCH as a first piercing a few weeks ago. She is considering getting a triangle, but is worried the whole process and healing will be too difficult or intense. Can you give some advice? So triangle and hood piercings. So the VCH, the vertical clitoral hood, that is...
Yeah, no, you're good. No. We can talk about this.
The C word.
Yeah, basically, it's just like the little flap of skin that actually covers the clitoris itself.
Right.
And it's just it's really thin. It's really, really fast healer. Triangle's way deeper because you have the clitoral shaft, which goes down, and this is going underneath it and putting pressure on that. So therefore, it's more intense, a longer healing process. Not a ton longer, but expect a couple months. The VCH is probably healed up or seems healed within 2-3 weeks.
Right.
On average.
Exactly.
You know, so
and
again,
they wouldn't interfere with one another. So if you imagine like the VCH being straight up and down vertically here, and then the triangle is basically a ring that would then be right behind all of that. So it would be behind the bundle of nerves of the actual
orbiting.
clitoris. Yep, kind of orbiting.
I'm not starting that.
No, let's not start the orbital conversation. Stop. So, yeah, no, and then it would just be a ring around that bundle of nerves. So the jewelry itself wouldn't necessarily, we would obviously start you off with something that has some size, so it wouldn't get caught on that jewelry from the VCH. So,
yeah. So as far as difficult, it's anatomy dependent piercing. You have to have the right anatomy in order to heal this piercing. Otherwise, you're not. For sure, it's going to be more intense, but I mean, it's more scary than painful. It's more intense than the VCH, but it's still worth anatomy, and it's something you actually want. I think my sound might be cutting out again here and there. I'm not sure.
I see it over here. It looks okay.
Okay, I can. Should be back though. Okay, now Nessie B, is it safe to pierce a conch and a flat at home?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because you're not a body piercer if you're piercing yourself at home. But if you are a piercer and you're piercing yourself at home, it's still a no-no. You know better.
If you watch my channel, you know we don't advocate home piercings. Number one, you probably don't have an autoclave, which is a steam sterilizer. Otherwise, you're probably not buying proper equipment because you have to have a license to get that. Yeah, you can buy stuff on Amazon, but it's garbage.
Yeah.
It's one of these days I'm going to show you one of those needles under a microscope, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm never putting that through my body ever.
Amen.
It's completely scary. Now, even if you had everything clean and proper, it's not going to be fast. It's going to be way more painful, and I can almost guarantee you're not going to get the right angle, so it won't look proper. So there's way too many things pushing against you. So just go get it done by a professional. So, yep, no, it's not safe. Is it Demesis?
Demesis?
Yeah, Demesis
Aguilar. Sure. Hello. I hope that you both are having a good day. Thank you for the content. Thank you for being here.
Welcome. Yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Will Jones, let's see if this is what do your parents' family think of your mods? Question for both of you. Do you want me to start? Or?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay.
And start. I've got a couple of really good stories.
Good question. Thank you. Thank you so much, Will. So it took my parents a long time. I mean, for them, they thought it was a phase. It probably took 10 or 15 years before they kind of said, this isn't a phase, is it? I'm like, no, it's who I am, what I do, what I love, and what I'm passionate about. And I feel completely comfortable in my body this way. But it did take them a long time. I know back in the day, my parents got kind of slightly embarrassed because, I mean, my earlobes were bigger than Kelsey's. You don't have jewelry in today, but like my earlobes were 2.5 inches, and this was back in the late 90s. So like I was going out in public, everyone was staring at me, and I could tell my parents freaked out about it. So sorry, Mom and Dad, about that. But then as time went on, they just accepted me and knew that it was so important to me that my dad will go up, like if he came to Las Vegas, went to the casino, and he sat next to Kelsey and didn't know Kelsey, he'd be like, so what's up with your horns? He goes, oh, no, it's cool. My son's a body piercer, and it's like it's so awesome. It's so awesome. And my mom's always been just as supportive. So my parents love me, and now they've accepted it, but it was tough for them. I know I've kind of jolted everything hard, but yeah, it's my parents still love me. I love them, and we have a great relationship. So yes.
Same thing with my parents, only my dad was always so supportive. Like my biggest cheerleader was always like, do what you want with your body type thing, but then yeah, my mom was very much not really into it. I started stretching my ears probably in the 6th grade. Around the 6th grade.
I think moms hate the ear stretching thing.
Yeah. And I actually hid it from her for a while. I started stretching it, and I would just buy the same color jewelry until it got to a point where she was like, you have been stretching your ears. I can tell they're so much bigger. I'm like, no, they're not. And then she brings me the little tin that all my plugs were in. And she's like,
I can. There we go.
There we go.
Our sound's back again.
In and out. I wonder if it's just like a plug
I don't
or
know
something.
why this is doing this. Check. Okay,
Check,
we're good
check.
there. Good there. Sound.
So,
I
yeah.
really don't know why. I'm sorry about that. So we need to go back and say just a little bit because you cut out a little bit towards the end.
Oh, okay.
Of the story,
Well, so my dad was always pretty supportive of it. My mom, on the other hand, was kind of against the whole thing, stretching my ears and everything. I started doing that in about the 6th grade. I started piercing myself. My friends and I started piercing ourselves, which I do not condone doing at home. As a professional now, I look back at that and I'm like, God, I was such a dumb kid for doing that, putting myself and everybody else at risk of a bunch of things. So
we just didn't know.
Yeah, we just didn't know any better. It was just something I was so passionate about and I loved so much, and I wanted all these piercings. My mom wouldn't take me to get them, so I just started doing them myself. But don't do that. Wait until you can get them done. But
Awesome.
Anyways. It wasn't until I actually became a piercer that my mom was, fully supportive of it. I ended up asking her, how would you feel if I had my tongue split? And she was just like, well, I mean, it just reminds me of something evil. I just really don't like it. And I'm just like, okay. And she was like, but it is your body. It's your choice. So I did it that night after I got off the phone with her. And then she called me the very next morning and she was like, you know what? I thought about it overnight. I slept on it. I really don't want you to get it. And I was like, well, I did it. And she was just like, you did not. And she hung up on me. She disowned me for about a week. And then she called me and she was like, I was taught you to do your own thing with your own body.
Oh.
It was a thing. But no, she's super proud of me. She's very supportive of everything that I do. She loves what I am, who I am, what I do. So
How long did it take?
Probably up until I actually became a piercer, because she kind of viewed it as a phase, like your parents did. It was like, well, what are you going to do with your life?
Wrecking
And
your body.
I had a stepdad for a little while who was just not supportive at all. He would tell me I would never amount to anything. Look at me now.
Awesome.
Thanks for not believing in me.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a fun question. I could talk all night of different stories about this, but we need to move on because I know there's a lot of questions here. So, but thank you.
Lene Anderson, greetings from Denmark.
Hey, welcome in.
Yeah.
And then we got
Sam Nelms.
Please don't.
Yeah, please don't do any piercings at home. It's never safe. Thank you. Thank you.
It's not even us. It's everyone else saying, don't do it. Don't do it. It's just not safe.
So B, I had my septum pierced 2 months ago. The piercer had an 8-inch hoop in, and it's really small. How long before I can get it changed?
8 millimeter.
So
probably.
8. Okay, yeah, but I was gonna say 8 millimeter would definitely be way too small. That's like what, like a quarter. How big is 8 millimeter? 930 seconds. Yeah, that's way too small for a fresh piercing. You should be started, depending on your anatomy, at least with
about 5/16 actually.
About 5/16.
So it could be okay, but if you have swelling, you could have problems.
Exactly. Yep. Or if the jewelry wasn't expanded slightly, then it could be pinching. So Scott pierces a lot of septums with 5/16, but he widens them a tiny bit. That way, you see less barbell, a little bit more bead, and they just look a lot more appealing to the person who's getting pierced. Because no one ever really wants a huge ring hanging out. I typically pierce with an 11/32 or a 3/8.
I'll do 11/32 minimum for a capped bead ring, 5/16 if it's circular barbell.
Exactly.
And I can open it up.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So definitely get that swapped out to something slightly bigger.
If it's causing problems, you need to go and get it changed. Otherwise,
you can get it changed immediately if it's causing issues.
Yeah. Otherwise, if it's not causing problems and you're healing up, you should be able to go in after probably about a month and a half to 2 months. All right, Plugsley X. Scott, how does the piercer recover from having a bad apprenticeship?
Start with a better one.
Yeah, you just need to get a better one.
Yeah.
The thing is all of us have been fed bad information. I've been piercing a long time. Now, that doesn't mean my apprenticeship was bad, but the information I had back in the day was relevant for that time, but you just have to kind of keep moving. So you should be able to still take stuff in. You're going to hear a lot of bad information, even after you have your good apprenticeship. You're still going to have piercers telling you different techniques, and it's like, no, that's not for me, or that's a bad idea, or, you got to learn what's good and what's bad and what works best for you and what's safest for your client. But number one, If you're a full-time piercer, you've been doing it for a while, it's just find some piercer friends who you can talk to and communicate with, and hang out here. If you have questions, ask us. I know you do, and we're happy to answer them for you. So.
Yeah, you can even watch. What is the piercer's name?
Ryan.
Ryan
Roulette, the Piercing Wizard podcast. For real,
really good information. Yeah. Absolutely, 100% recommend.
And it's just like you're gonna get more information than you can handle. So if you're already piercing, that's probably the route to go. If you're not a full-time piercer and licensed, just find a better piercer. So.
Yep.
All right.
Someone reputable.
Yes. And Nessie B says, thank you, Sam Nels. I'm not sure what the
Thank you. That was from the Not Piercing at Home.
Ah, yes.
Tell us, last time I asked you, how do I become a body piercer? And you said next time you go live, you are going to give me more information.
Yes. Let's actually talk about that, because we were talking about an apprenticeship not too long ago. Now, finding someone to apprentice you is really, really difficult. Sometimes people are going to take a lot of money from you. They're going to be like, it's between $4,000 and $10,000 for an apprenticeship, which I personally think is ridiculous. But in a way, you are kind of paying for an education.
Right. You're someone's knowledge, someone's, skill and everything. So I sometimes understand. It depends on who you're learning from, but I mean,
a lot of those people who take that kind of money aren't in it for trying to give you good knowledge. Right. They just want money and they need money. Right. Now, I personally don't take money, and I actually hire you on as basically like a shop person, a paid employee. You get minimum wage, and it's going to take probably 1 year to 2 years to completely finish your apprenticeship. After that apprenticeship, I'm not going to train all my competition. I mean, especially if I know that, I'm not interested in apprenticing you, but we're trying to make you a home, a place where you can pierce forever, and that's kind of my ultimate goal. Now, apprenticeships are tough to get into because you need to be persistent in pursuing it, but not overbearing or annoying. Which is a fine line.
Yeah, there's a very fine line between that.
And I am sorry, I wish I had a better analogy. But I mean, for real, if we don't know who you are, we're not going to ask you. But you have to be passionate, ask questions, but not overdo it.
It's easy for us to kind of not necessarily nitpick, but figure out who is genuinely passionate about being a body piercer and who wants to do it for cool points. Because, I mean, us personally, I know for a fact, we've been passionate about this for so long that we don't really see anything else from anyone unless they're super passionate about it. It's just easy for us to tell the difference.
Yeah.
And Scott was saying it's easy to get or it's really difficult to get an apprenticeship. I'd say it's easy to get an apprenticeship anywhere, because you can get an apprenticeship from so many different places, but not somewhere that's reputable. It's hard to get your foot in the door of a place that is reputable, because we are pretty picky about who we want to train, who we want to give our knowledge and our skill to. So again, it just really depends on, being passionate about it and not, it's
because sometimes you think you just need to get your foot in the door, which kind of is a good thing. But if you get your foot in the door and the whole community sees you have a bad reputation because you were trained by the person who no one goes
from
to.
the place that it was easy for you to get into, and then it's you could do here you could do a minimum of 6 months. You get hired at one of these chop shops that are out here as an apprentice. They train you for the minimum of 6 months. A reputable studio isn't going to hire you on as a professional piercer because you're done with your 6 month apprenticeship, and now you're fully licensed, and you don't know a size from, what a bevel theory is. It's just so many different things that I just.
And there's different types of piercers too. You come in, you're going to get your piercing, and you're in and out, and nothing wrong with that. For us, we're more of a coddling shop where we're going to kind of sit you down, make sure you're comfortable, not feel like you're
rushed or you have to do this.
Exactly. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you can get into a shop where there's multiple piercers, that's amazing, because you're going to take each one of those piercers' knowledge and kind of build it up. Now, there is schools.
That's where I came from, and I'm very lucky that I apprenticed in the shop that I did, because I had multiple piercers.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was great.
So, and the schools I don't really condone. They're not going to teach you proper techniques. It's just in and out, and you're just kind of a number. There's seminars like Fakir Intensives. I did the Gauntlet, which is no longer around. I knew there's Luis Garcia does some seminars where he'll come out and do things. I knew Ryan Ouellette does kind of the same thing. So there's ways to get more knowledge, but those don't substitute a full-on apprenticeship. No. Apprenticeship is the only way to really do to learn how to be a piercer.
Yeah, but half of becoming a piercer is physically learning, like exactly what you're doing. But again, like it takes however long to get to that point where you're physically piercing people and experiencing what it's like to pierce someone, accurate versus inaccurate. And yeah.
And the thing is you're not going to impress a piercer and get an apprenticeship by doing piercings at home going, look at all my work. We're going to be like, you need to get out of the shop. That's dangerous. You're putting people in.
That's another speaking from experience thing.
We're having.
It was not good.
There we go. Okay.
More difficulties.
Yeah, I saw like we're lagging here a little bit. I don't know why I get the high speed internet. Vegas internet here is not so hot. I'm not real impressed by it. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. I have the best one I can get, and it's we're still getting some streaming issues. Let's that kind of answers that.
Yeah.
I mean, apprenticeship is the answer, and it's the only answer. Get as much knowledge as you can, but it doesn't substitute the full-on apprenticeship. Silently judging you. Thoughts on piercings in an area with unrelated scars. I specifically have a 0.5 centimeter slightly raised scar under my lip. I think it's pretty cool. Embrace it. I think what we're talking about is like a very large. Do you want to try to explain this? I'm going to look it up and show people here.
So thoughts on piercings in an area with an unrelated scar. I specifically have a 0.5 centimeter slightly raised scar under my lip.
So basically, it's like if you have a scar.
So piercing next to a scar. I mean, I don't necessarily. If it's near the scar, it isn't really going to affect the piercing or the scar in any way. But if you're piercing through scar tissue, that's one of those things where it's less viable. So the healing process for that is a little bit tougher. But Scott's trying to pull up a picture of a scar.
Okay,
here.
I just kind of Googled something here, so we're going to go to here. Now, as you can see, the big picture here, there's a scar and it's completely raised up. Now, with it raised up enough, you can actually pierce the actual scar tissue itself. Granted, that's going to create more scarring on your scar, but I mean, if you want to just embrace it and that scar is always there, you're more than welcome to actually do a full-on piercing, like right here through here. This is not enough raised tissue, but you could do something like this. This is just darker tissue. You can't actually pierce that.
Yeah.
It's actually got to be protruding. I think that's what you're saying, is that the actual skin is fully raised up, and then we could actually do a piercing like that, which I think is cool. But if the scar tissue does bother you, I don't know if you've tried it or not, but there's a lot of scar tissue removers like Mederma. There's other brands. There's a whole section inside pharmacies that get rid of scar tissue, help dissipate it. But another thing to be concerned about is if it is actual keloiding, because if you do the keloiding, then you should talk to your doctor about it.
Yeah, because you could just make it worse.
But yeah, so that's an interesting question. I've seen people get those piercings done before. A lot of times it's on sternums, like from open heart surgery, and they got this huge raised scar, and they just put like a little barbells going down there.
Cool.
It's
Looks
dope.
like stitches.
It looks so cool. So, yep.
The cat is back.
All right, an actual cat.
Watched your video about a day in the life of a piercer. Awesome video, but I think it's safe to say that you clean more than you pierce.
I do, and it's kind of like the way it goes with piercing sometimes.
You got to keep the studio clean.
Yeah, and you didn't even see everything. You didn't see me make the prep kits. I'm actually wiping counters down between clients that are out doing there. I'm constantly sanitizing. It's a lot of work, and I didn't show any of the actual piercings because the video camera thing isn't quite. I thought I had it. We recorded some video, and I actually got good quality. So that's what's coming out tomorrow. You guys are going to see my mantises getting pierced.
Me?
I'm super excited about that. So you'll see it. It's just a one-shot view, but you can see it pretty clearly what's going on. So, yeah. But thank you for watching. It's a lot of work. I think that day I did like 17 piercings or something. I think I described. But yeah, if you listen, yeah. And a lot of times those people who come in might be getting multiple piercings done in the same sitting. But yeah, if you haven't watched that video, it's worth watching. It shows you a lot of more what we do behind the scenes as opposed to just like being in the room of piercing all day. So, Will Jones, my question earlier was taken down. I resent it because there wasn't many spelling mistakes.
There were too many spelling mistakes. Even I couldn't read it.
That's really funny. Thanks for being honest. That made me laugh. All right. Baby,
you could drive my car. What kind of car do you drive?
Hi, Scott. What do you think about play piercings? Are you making this? Do you enjoy this? I love play piercings.
Play piercings is pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you find someone who can actually sit through play piercings, it's a pretty rad experience.
I'm looking them up here again. So, explain what you do with them, Kelsey.
Yep. So play piercings can be a number of different things, whether it be just like a straight line going down, corseted piercings, piercings that then make a design or a shape or a picture of some sort.
Here we go. So these are just a bunch of different samples of so there we are. Okay, so yeah, you can see how like this is like those aren't actually scars. That's actually the skin raised up from the actual
from the piercings themselves. The needles being underneath the tissue.
The different gauges have different colors, so sometimes people use different colors to create patterns and designs. But these are temporary things. You put them in there and you take them out. They generally don't scar very much. A lot of times people take really cool pictures. So just kind of zooming in here and let's see if that worked. Not going in any further. So, but anyways, that's what play piercings are. I love them. I used to offer them back in the day, but I don't offer it anymore. It just takes too much time. That's back when I was working at a slower shop and I had time to do things like that. I would charge per needle, so it was interesting. Yeah. Are we going back yet? We should be.
It's a little delayed.
It's just a little bit delayed.
It's okay.
All right. Sarah Wardell. Wardle. Okay. I have a partial denture at the top front of my mouth. Would this cause issue with a Philtrum piercing? Depends on how much it sticks out.
Yep. If you have any sort of like indentations or like a lip or maybe like a retainer shape or something that might catch on the back of the jewelry. But typically a denture wouldn't have anything like that. Dentures are for the most part nice and smooth. So you really shouldn't have any issues with a Philtrum piercing or healing one. So.
All right. And my screen seems to be locked up here. I'm not sure why it's not going back.
Uh-oh.
See, because that was
that? No?
No. See, we should be all right. And we got to scroll back up. I highlighted the last question. There it was. All right, and Emily Sakuma. Hey, Emily, how are you doing? It says, hi, Scott. Last week you had a question about using Briotech as piercing aftercare. I used it on a healing double conch by the advice of an online consultation with Elaine Angel. Yes, that's who I learned about that too. That's the only one I know of that I actually would use. I used it on one of my old piercings and I didn't notice much of an effect, so I don't really know. Are you guys still on the same screen here, like of all the play piercings? I can't see what's going on. It seems
and it looks glitched right there.
Yeah, it's done this before. So anyways, but yeah, you're right. Elaine Angel uses this stuff. The only thing I don't like about it is it can be exposed with air and it's not as sterile as the wound wash, but that chemical can actually help quite a bit. And 452 Natasha, that last video was awesome, Scott. It's amazing to see how much attention to detail you pay and how clean and awesome everything was. Super cool to see behind the scenes of what you do. Well, thank you for watching. And Savannah says, is it normal for cartilage piercing to be tender while changing to a hoop? What do you think, Kelsey?
Yes. So, okay, is it normal for a cartilage piercing to be tender when changing to a hoop? Okay, so basically your piercing was done at a straight angle. And sounds to me like you probably healed with a labret post-in. So it healed at a straight angle as well. So now that you put a hoop in, depending on the size of the hoop and everything, it may be a little too small. It could be. I mean, tender is normal. Sorry, I'm ADHD or ADD. I'm like paying attention to what Scott's doing and trying to answer.
I'm fixing our screen so we can see where we're at. Anyway. It's all frozen up on us.
So you were pierced at a straight angle. You healed at a straight angle. You now have a hoop in. So that hoop is now putting pressure on each end of the entrance and the exit of the actual piercing itself. So it does, like, piercings will have a tendency of going through somewhat of a slight healing process. It's just now getting used to having that curved angle in it. So yes, a little bit of swelling. A little bit of tenderness. You can even start getting crusties all over again. It really just depends. If that happens, then your piercing might be a little too fresh to change out to a hoop, and I would probably recommend putting the post back in.
I would say 4 to 6 months would be the earliest you should even think about changing the hoop.
Any sort of cartilage to a hoop.
And
nostrils,
sometimes
helix,
it takes up to a year. 4 to 6
Yeah.
months is perfect circumstances. And if your piercing's already sore and you're going to put a hoop in because you think it's going to make it better, it'll make it worse. Stick with the stud until you're all the way healed up.
100%.
Yes.
Emily Sakuma.
Didn't we just ask that? No.
Nope.
Okay.
When my piercer downsized the jewelry, she found that the Briotech had completely eroded the polish off the ends of my titanium flatbacks. So I just want to warn others. Are you sure it was titanium? It wasn't plated with anything? Because a lot of times even our body can kind of break down certain materials, especially if it's coated or plated with something. As far as a polish goes, can a polish become eroded?
I'm starting an experiment because I have some of that Briotech and I have titanium jewelry. So
cool.
We'll spray it on there and we'll kind of wipe it on there for like this next week or so, and we'll see what it does. You might be onto something. We don't really know, and it's information like this that we need to kind of know about. So I'm totally going to run a test on that.
Yeah, because we tested, Scott tested what peroxide does to titanium jewelry.
Oh, it's crazy.
In a little cup. It just turns it super dingy and like a weird color.
Dark grayish black. It's not a pretty grayish black. It's really...
it's yucky.
Yeah. it's weird.
It almost looks like a matte finish color,
in a
but
way,
it's weird.
it's the same concept as anodizing, where it's creating layers, so it's totally safe. It's just not attractive. And then I went ahead and I buffed it off there, and then I was able to anodize color. I'm like, maybe I can try something here. I can't find anything to do with it. But that being said, don't put your titanium jewelry in peroxide to clean it. People leave it overnight, and you're going to have a dingy, weird look. It takes about a week or so for everything to go gray and completely into that weird status. But just don't use peroxide.
Yeah, no. Will Jones. Scott, are those some Mantis piercings I see?
The video's coming out tomorrow. You will see it get done. Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks for noticing.
And then Mauricio, how are the Mantis piercings healing? I'm so excited for mine in November. Can't wait to have you in November. I'm super stoked. Also, you can just say Mar or Mauricio instead of my username.
Oh,
Noted.
okay. Mar. Okay, cool. You know what? I think it was a little bit more than a normal actual piercing, like a nostril piercing. It's a little bit more pinchy, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I think it's just the area.
The pain went away really, really fast. Now, I don't think I've ever had a piercing that gets caught on more stuff in my entire life.
But I also think that was because of the ends that we put in.
Yeah, they have these really sharp kind of pinchy ends on there, and it keeps grabbing a hold of stuff. But at the same time, I am bumping it. But I have not had any problems. How old are these now? Week and a half? 2 weeks?
About 2 weeks now.
2 weeks?
I think we did them 2 weeks ago.
I don't have any crusties, any problems. It seems fully healed to me. I know it's not, but I'm still cleaning them. And I have been doing a little experiment. I don't know if I told you, but I've been using emu oil on this.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am spraying it with the Neomed to kind of get all the crusties off there. And when I'm done, I'm putting a little bit of emu oil on them because supposedly it's made for healing too. Or not made, but it can work well for healing. And I don't know if it's because they're mantises and they heal really nice naturally, or if it's because of the emu oil.
I've done a couple of other sets of Mantis piercings, and they all healed up pretty quick. I did my ex-coworker Rosa's. I did hers a couple years ago, and it seemed like they healed within the first couple of weeks. We were able to downsize jewelry from 5/16 to 1/4 inch, and because they were just so long and she was catching them on everything, so we had to downsize them. But even the 1/4 inch would stick out a little bit, but you do swell up a bit.
Yep.
So
I overswelled mine for sure, and we ended up having to put a slightly longer one.
But yeah, no, Mantis piercing, they heal pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
But I mean, on the
bizarre.
other hand, it's like that emu oil really didn't cause any problems. It didn't leave residue behind. I thought it would leave a lot of crusties and things like that, and it really didn't. It just absorbed in there, and I just made sure to wipe off the excess, and it really felt good. So, but yeah, the piercings are doing fantastic. So,
Savannah here.
All right.
Awesome.
Savannah says, how do I know when I can change my nostril to a hoop? I'm scared. Good. Wait till it's healed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell everyone a minimum of 4 months. It's going to seem
4 to
healed.
6 months to a full year, realistically speaking, is about how long a nostril piercing will take to heal. So around that period of
Here's the deal. I tell people it's going to seem healed way before that, but it's like if you put on a tight pair of jeans or pants in the morning, by the end of the day, they're more loose because they've kind of stretched out. You're trying to stretch your nostril piercing out too because your cartilage has a straight piercing and you're trying to put a curve in there. But you want that hole it's going in to be more relaxed so that curve doesn't pinch on there and cause those bumps. That's why we say that 4 to 6 months is generally the earliest you should put that ring in there to almost not guarantee, but completely minimize the risk of getting that bump. If you put that thing in after, like, oh, it's healed in a month and a half, 2 months, and you put a ring in, you're getting the bump. That's just the way it is. So just be patient. Evan J. Piercing. Cool name. Hi, nice to see you again. Hi, nice to see again. Is grabbing much more skin in the eyebrow piercing can affect the healing issue? Hi, nice to see you again. Is grabbing much more skin?
So what I'm getting from this is piercing
Deeper.
more tissue, like deeper, in the eyebrow piercing can affect the healing or cause issues potentially.
It can affect the healing. The more tissue you have, the longer it's going to take to heal. Not by a lot, but a little bit.
So with our brows, it really just depends on. So people have some people have more pronounced brow bones than other people. I know that my brow bone probably sticks out more than Scott's. Like Scott's is pretty flat here, and he was able to pierce through like a good amount of tissue. But
well, look at this too. This is just ridiculous.
Yep. Lots of tissue there to be pierced through, which is good.
Yeah.
It really just depends on the person. If someone doesn't really have much brow tissue there, but their brow bone is more pronounced, you're then putting jewelry in something that is gonna, the jewelry is gonna apply pressure to that bone, and the tissue is gonna start to kind of grow out this way, causing the piercing to migrate. Eyebrows a lot of times are rounded off, and we don't really want to put piercings through something that's super rounded. So it really depends on the person's anatomy.
Yeah, some people just are really bad candidates.
Yep, some people are just really bad candidates for it. No matter how much tissue you pierce through. Yeah, it's...
I'm guessing you might be a piercer, just because of your name and the way you're asking the question. One thing I do for eyebrow piercings is I do freehand piercings. So I'm going to pinch the skin up with my fingers like this, kind of creating a little bit of a ridge, and I pierce a slight channel. I do bevel theory where the bevel kind of points down, and I pierce halfway in, re-angle it, and kind of bring it back up. Not a ton, but enough to kind of create a little bit of depth and to make the piercing come more perpendicular to the tissue. And I've had really good luck in healing things up. A lot of times I pierce people with a 5/16 of an inch curved barbell, and because of this technique, they seem to heal, and I've really a lot of success with it. Sometimes people just naturally have tougher skin. You need to go bigger, like a 3/8 or maybe even up to a 7/16. If you go much above 7/16, you're overdoing it. You're overdoing it. So, yes. And Nessie B says, thank you for answering my questions. You are very welcome. HR. Thank you for asking my question. You are very welcome. Everyone's so polite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Astrid Posey went mute. I think we're back again because I can hear it. I did hear it pop in and out, but it's only for a couple seconds. So, Linda144, hubbies. Hey, Scott from Sweden. Love all these live shows. We love doing them. So, yeah, thanks for being here and thanks for being a part of it. All right.
All right. So, Nessie B. All right, so we will say this until we are blue in the face. We do not condone piercing at home. It seems to me like you pierce yourself at home quite a bit. I had pierced my septum at home. I messed it up and started bleeding, but my brother knew a bit about piercing, so I asked for his help. He re-pierced me again. It's healing good. Okay, so...
Knowing a bit about piercing
doesn't make you a professional body piercer. You shouldn't be piercing yourself at home.
Let me ask you this. If you got a cut on your arm and you needed stitches, do you just grab mom's sewing kit or dad's sewing kit?
Ask your brother to help you to sew you up. I mean... it's your body. Do what you want. But again, we don't really condone it. And
there's proper placement. I mean, like...
And then I see her comment right down below, but I'm not able to flip my septum, maybe because it's just a week old. I'm not sure about the placement, but it's too late now.
No, it's not.
It's not too late. Take it out. Let it heal up and go to a professional.
Don't do it again yourself.
Yeah.
It's because they need... the proper placement. If you don't know where to put the piercing, it's not going to work out in your favor.
We don't recommend it whatsoever. Yeah. So, Opium, guys, you are on mute. I think
are we
we're
still
okay
on
now?
mute?
I don't think so. Lillian Florence.
It seems like no one else is saying that anymore. I think we're back to normal again. So, okay. Thank you, though, Opium.
Yeah, thank you.
Lillian Florence. 18 ear piercings, cheek piercings, high nostrils, mantis, mohawk
pink hair, and I'm 73.
Oh, yeah. Loving that. It's not a phase. It's a lifestyle. It's who we are. And if it makes you feel good about yourself, that's what you need to do. That is awesome. And I'm glad you're part of our community.
Yeah. So. Body modification has no age limit. And I tell people that all the time. I get so many parents and they're like, oh, their kids want them to get pierced with them. And no, I'm too old for this piercing. You are never, ever too old. I love telling this same story, but the oldest nostril piercing that I had ever done in the last 10 years of piercing was 94 years old. She came in, she said it was on her bucket list. She did it. And I hope she still has. I hope she's doing really well. But yeah, no, there is no age limit to body piercing.
I remember piercing.
If you want a piercing, get it. If it's something that you've always wanted, get it.
I remember piercing a lady in her late 80s, and all she's worried about was what her grandchildren were going to think. I'm like, Grandma, you're the coolest grandma ever.
Promise they're going to love it.
Yeah. All right. Nessie B.
We already read that.
Oh, yeah, we already did. Lillian Florence, double high fives.
Double high fives.
Is that what that means?
I think so. Okay. I'll take it. Jason Hanez, what is the biggest gauge I can put in a Prince Albert? I mean, realistically speaking, it's whatever you stretch it up to. I know people who have someone who wears a silicone plug and they were about a half inch. You know,
I heard of a guy one time that had a half inch back in Minnesota, and he did a low ampling because the weight of the jewelry back then was steel, and he had to do an ampling to help support the weight so it didn't rip.
Cool.
You can go pretty big, I guess. Yeah.
But a lot of people, like one of the biggest sizes that I have people call about or come in for would be a 0 or double 0.
Double zero's generally the biggest. Because you're not going to find jewelry bigger that's going to be comfortable and fit appropriately.
Exactly.
That's because they stopped making circular barbells. I mean, there's Wildcat body jewelry, which does go bigger, and that's what I think this guy wore. But in general, it's really, really tough. So you can go big. Go big.
Mm-hmm. Go big or go home.
Paprika muffin.
No, it's Pika Pika.
Paprika.
Pika Pika muffin.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. I just butchered that one.
Greetings from Germany. Which oral area piercings are more or less likely to cause teeth damage? I'm reluctant to find out the hard way. Thanks.
I'm so glad you're doing your homework.
Yes.
It's, it's funny. It's almost like nipple piercings. It's like you get the nipple piercing done and you look and go, oh, can I still nurse with this? It's like, too late. Why are you asking after the, this is how you do this. Now, the most safe ones are vertical lip piercings that are on the outside of the mouth, whether it's a gestrum or a vertical labret, angel fangs. Those are going to be the best ones. Now, any other piercing where the jewelry touches the inside of the mouth, jewelry can come unthreaded, undone, on pressure, whatever, and you can bite down and chip and damage your teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's always a risk for anything that is
most oral piercings, exactly. Most oral piercings, tongue piercings, it doesn't matter how far back you go, how small the bead is on the bottom. The jewelry is still going to rest where it wants to rest. I personally I had my tongue stretched to about a 2 gauge before I retired it and then got my tongue split. And I have the gum erosion on the back of my front 4 teeth on the backing here. After retiring it, it seems like it kind of grew back a little bit, but it was really scary.
I hear in general it doesn't, so you got to be careful about that. Now, labrets, things that have the disc rubbing up against the teeth or the gums, are the ones that generally cause more of the problems. I know smileys and frownies, where it's that web on the top or bottom of your mouth, those can cause massive, massive problems.
So when I had my smiley done, I would wear a captive bead ring in it, and after a little while, it started to make 2 little slits on the gum line that were in front of my 2 front teeth. But that's because of the way that my teeth are shaped versus where my webbing is a little bit further back than like how far my teeth stick out. So the jewelry would rest on that gum line there, and it can cause those to kind of split. So you got to be really careful. Cheek piercings as well. Sometimes they catch on my molars and stuff. And
no, I would say the safest oral piercing that's inside your mouth is going to be a tongue web.
Right underneath.
Right underneath, because you can't really bite down on it. You can't really do too much damage with it, but it can come undone. You can bite down and chip it if you don't check your beads. So that would be the biggest concern. So anything's a possibility, but the smiley and normal lip piercings are the big culprits of teeth and gum damage. Great question.
Yeah.
Leanne McCulley. Sized up my standard earlobe gauges from an 8mm to a 10mm. Congratulations. Had some micro tears in my right ear, but it healed good. Is there any kind of special aftercare I can do? If you get micro tears when you're stretching your ears, which means there's a bunch of little cuts the long way around, leave it be. Don't spin or rotate it. Try not to put anything else on there. If anything, maybe a little bit of emu oil, but a lot of times we like to spin and rotate it to try to get that oil in there, and that's going to cause bigger tears and rips. So try to leave it be in the same position. Now, if those micro tears turn into a huge problem where you start over swelling and causing problems, you might need to downsize.
Material is a really big thing as well. So silicone, acrylic, wood, all sorts of different things can be issues. What I recommend for stretching would be glass and specific stones. We just got a
super chat. Thank you. So materials
are a big thing.
The worst thing I would say to start to stretch with is going to be silicone. It's super, super tacky and grabs a hold and creates micro tears. I've seen more problems with silicone. Wood is also not very good to stretch with because it's so porous.
It soaks up.
Sticks.
Yep, it soaks up any sort of moisture that you might have, causing dryness, flakiness. Wood, in my opinion, out of personal experience, is really good for just like short-term wear. You want to wear them for the day, not a big deal. It also depends on the wood as well. There are so many different toxic woods out there.
Yes.
But there's a lot more good. So just be cautious of material.
I'm going to do a wood video. I'm totally going to do one because I know quite a bit about it.
I have a huge collection of plugs that we can bring in. I'll show different types of woods. Things. So like out here, it's super dry.
We're totally doing a wood plug.
Yep. I have so many plugs. I have a bunch of stuff that's like, it has splits in the wear area that I'll never wear again. But I just keep for my collection because they're beautiful. But
when I had my plugs, I wore wood almost every day. But my ears were 2.5 inches and I didn't sleep with my plugs. So I took them out every night and put them back in. I cleaned them every single day. I constantly oiled them. I put them back in like natural olive oil. And then sometimes I would even take my Dremel tool with a little buffing wheel and I would add another beeswax layer over the top. You got to keep that protective layer over the top. And that's super, super important. But yeah, it really depends on the materials. So we need to move because we're taking way too long here.
Minecraft tutorial.
We need to go right to the super chat because there we are. Thanks for awesome tips today. You are very, very welcome. Yeah, we asked you asked your question. We responded to you. That is so nice of you. And keep in mind, people, if you send in a super chat, we'd check that out almost right away. So if you don't want to wait for your question, super chats get you right to the top. And if you haven't already, but if you haven't, hit the like and subscribe. And share. Let your friends know about this. And we love having everyone here. It's such a fun thing to do. All right, yeah, we're way behind here. So Lillian Florence got head tattoos. I think you're saying you do. I do too.
I actually have the side of my head tattooed as well. Woohoo!
Cool. And,
hi from the Netherlands, from Tom Terbrak.
Nice. Welcome in, Evan J. Piercing. Another question, going a little bit deeper into the surface piercing and kind of force the bar tops over the skin affect healing badly. It's going a little bit deeper in the surface piercing. Yes.
That's very bad because then you have no room for swelling, and then the tops can then kind of sink in, causing a lot of issues.
You want it to be flush, but not sucking in. They do make surface bars with different rises. I know there's like sometimes they got 2mm rise, the 3mm rise. I'm not sure how high up they actually go.
So you never want to pierce too deep just to accommodate for, no.
Yep.
Don't do that.
So, and B says, sorry, 8 millimeters. Yeah, we figured as much. It'd be like, there's no way that's 8 inches. That was way back then.
Ganmi Coben, how does your nose look from the side?
Oh, God.
Oh, I think they're talking about inside of your...
Yeah, I don't know if you can... if you get real close and you look inside there, it's... you might be able
see
to
his
see
septum. Some boogers.
You might see some boogers from there.
Dominique Blake. Hey, y'all. Hope your Wednesday's great. Scott, I was wondering what the scars are called under your eyes. They look cool, and I was curious.
I haven't named any of them. Should I name all my scars?
Yes.
That might be kind of fun. I know what you're saying. They are brandings, so they're burned in there. Each individual burn, I think there's 6 burns under each eye, and then we tattooed white around the edge of the burn, and then we also tattooed a slight red shadow on the inside to give it a little bit of depth, because when I do brandings, I just don't scar much at all, and it doesn't show. So that's what that is, but they're brandings. Scarification's a word that hits a lot of different things. Like cutting and branding are both scarification. Sometimes people make little X's and put ash in there and cause it to scar. So any form of forming a permanent scar for decoration, I think, is scarification. So, but they're brandings. Thank you.
Leanne McCauley, do you need a certificate to be a tattoo apprentice? To
Here
be
in
a
Las Vegas, you do.
Yes, here in Las Vegas. So you have to have it used to be a pink slip, but now they have apprentice cards where you go in, you take your testing and everything, fill out paperwork on where you're going to be, and then they give you a body art card that says apprentice on it. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so kind of like
mine was just a pink piece of paper.
Let the city know basically that you're doing it, but every city is completely different. You said pink slip. That's what we used to.
Yeah,
you
I
get
had
a pink slip when we were in school.
Yeah, when you were in
that meant
school.
you're in trouble. You had to go to the office. So. All right.
Again, me, Coben. Hey, man, I'm a piercer for 3 years and I want to work in the U.S. and I'm from Turkey. What do I need to do to get permit to work there? I think it's different. You would probably need to get your, I think it's like a worker's visa.
Yeah.
And then, if you have somewhere, I would probably get to a point where you know where you're going to be working, because then you fill out the paperwork. If I'm not mistaken, they then give you a working visa.
Well,
if you're going to be working.
Yes, I think every city is going to be different too. So number one, you need to get a working visa just to get in the country and be able to work here. Then on top of that, you got to figure out, okay, if I'm going to Las Vegas has these laws, and I need to show that I've been an apprentice. So you need to bring some sort of proof, and you need
documentation that you finished an apprenticeship for minimum 6 months.
Otherwise, they'll make you do another 6-month apprenticeship, even if you've been piercing 3 years.
Yep.
It's kind of BS, but it's what it is.
A lot of gray area in that.
So you need to do a lot of homework, find a shop to work at, and kind of really, it's going to take months and months and months to plan things out to be able to get out here. If you get a worker's visa, you can get like a little, just like a little guest spots. You can travel, do a bunch of little guest spots, but to get a license for a shop, you're probably going to need to go through some testing and things like that.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Betty Boop fan. Hey, Scott, Lisa from Plymouth, England here.
Hello, Lisa.
Very cool.
Welcome in. All right. Radar. So happy I could be here. Eek. Did I say eek right?
Eek.
I can't go as high as you can.
Forever rock and roll. At an SUV, I did my flat at home with a piercing gun. Okay, yeah, we don't condone that.
Yeah.
I'm about to start not reading these comments because... Yeah, it's not cool, you guys.
Don't do home piercings.
Don't do home piercings.
Yeah. Betty Boop, it's kind of slapping our face in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just like...
We all worked really hard to be where we're at. And it's one of those things that we're super prideful in where we are and how we got here. Again, it's something that we're just super passionate about. Keeping ourselves and everyone safe is one of our biggest things. So piercing at home is just one of the biggest no-nos. And it's like Scott said before, it doesn't give you any sort of cool points. So like piercing at home, it doesn't look cool to us. It's,
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
You know,
you're not doing it right is the biggest thing.
Piercing gun, I can tell you all the problems you're having. I bet you have a huge bump on the back of your ear because of the piercing bump.
Lots of scar tissue.
So don't do it. Don't do it, please.
All right. So
Savannah.
Oh,
wait, no, I didn't read Betty
yeah.
Boop fan.
Hey, Scott, I've recently had my snug done, which was a breeze having it pierced. I'm now going through the pain stage. Do you recommend anything else I can do to ease the pain? Thanks, from Lisa.
You're very welcome. Congratulations that it was a breeze having pierced. That's generally some pretty dense cartilage and can be kind of painful. So that's really, really cool. Keep swelling down. That's number one. The reason it's so painful is because the whole area is swelling and putting pressure on that wound. If you get rid of the swelling, it's going to get rid of the pressure. Should get rid of a lot of the pain for you. So soaking in some cold water, that can really, really help. And then ibuprofen.
Staying up on ibuprofen, staying hydrated is a really big thing. Making sure that you're not sleeping on that piercing side, because sleeping on a snug piercing, I will sit here all day long and tell you, is like one of the worst things you can do during the healing process of this piercing.
Might as well be picking all the scabs.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a tough one to heal. So good luck. I'm sure it'll be just fine. Just keep it clean, leave it be. Be good.
Savannah, are those half-open nose rings better for a nostril? Don't know the name of them, but they're just like a half a ring. It's called a nostril nail.
Wouldn't necessarily say it's better.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of them because, you have to constantly sit there and rotate it to make sure that flat spot is like on the inside of your nose and not showing. Not a fan. I'm a huge fan of just the clicker style seam ring. It looks really good, super classy.
I'm pulling one up here again.
Nostril nail. And there are some decorative nostril nails that are pretty cool that has like a little gem on the end that you can rotate over.
You can see here it's either a bead or a disc is on the inside. The thing is I've seen a lot of people lose their piercings because they're wearing these things. In night they spin and then the jewelry comes all the way out and it's gone. The whole purpose is that the disc goes on the inside of your nose to kind of make it look like it's a solid ring. But nowadays, just get a clicker. Just a normal clicker is going to work way, way better. The clicker has got that little hinge on there, so you can actually kind of click it open and close like that, and they're easy to get in and out. And that's the whole purpose here, is that they're easy. But keep in mind, you're trying to feed that jewelry from the inside out to put it in properly. It's not necessarily easy, so I'm not a fan of them. Silently judging you. Every time I read that, I feel like they're getting louder and louder, not silently judging. They're...
Not like the picture. It's not that raised. Okay, so we're talking about the scarring from before. Not like the picture.
Okay.
It's not raised just 0.5 millimeter, and it's white and hidden in the shadow. I think what they were asking was, what do you think about piercings near an area that you have a scar?
Okay.
So like generally,
if you wanted a belly button piercing and there's a scar right next to it,
there.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. As long as it's not being pierced through the scar tissue. I mean, sometimes you can't even pierce through scar tissue and it be okay and heal just fine. It just really depends on how much scar tissue is there. I've seen belly buttons that have some crazy scar tissue. I've seen lips that have crazy scar tissue that I would just rather not re-pierce, only because scar tissue is less viable. The healing process for that can either just make scarring even worse. Healing process can be a breeze, but you still have that lump of scar tissue. It really just depends. But it sounds to me like you don't really have too much of a pronounced scar, so a piercing next to it would be fine.
Now, another thing too is if you piercing right next to scar tissue and there's a little bit of discoloration, the piercing is going to put pressure on that scar tissue, and that scar tissue is going to get darker and possibly grow a little bit. So your best bet, like I said earlier, is to use some sort of Mederma or scar tissue remover
Mederma is really
to break it down, get rid of that scar tissue, and get your tissue to normal as possible before you actually do the piercing.
Oh, and then they explained what happened. It was a face versus furniture corner injury. Injury. Oh, no.
I have one of those. Always wins.
I have one of those on my eyebrow here. I went to set my bag down, and someone had these shadow box shelves up, and I stood up, and the corner hit my eyebrow right in the perfect spot. It was terrible. There was just blood pouring everywhere because it was, you hit an eyebrow just right, and it just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds.
Yeah. That's why they bruise.
Any head injury. Yeah. Oh, I had a black eye for a couple weeks. All righty.
So Radar says, yes, I really enjoyed that video. Well, thanks for watching. Nessie B. B is good. Thank you. Good. Okay, good. Tony Taylor, where are y'all located? We're right here.
Las Vegas.
Yeah, in sunny Las Vegas. It's actually been kind of stormy Las Vegas recently because of the whole hurricane thing, and we've been seeing a lot of clouds, a ton of rain. But yeah, we're in Las Vegas. We're about 3-4 miles off the Strip, right off Tropicana. It's pretty easy to get to, but if you're coming in to get pierced by me, make sure you set up the appointment. Yeah, because appointments are so necessary.
And then scrolling away from down to Sarah Wardle. Thank you. You said my name perfectly. Awesome.
Excellent. It's probably Kelsey, not me.
Okay, let's not read that one.
Will Jones.
Will Jones, we can see you guys talking. Awesome.
Yes. It's probably because the sound went out a while ago. And I had I had a bad experience with a piercer. I almost fainted, so I did my septum and helix at home. I want more piercings.
Then I would recommend going to a reputable piercer. It sounds like the person that you went to may or may not have known what they were doing, but at the same time, if you're prone to fainting, that's not necessarily the piercer's fault. It sounds like a close to fainting experience. You might have just kind of been a little bit worked up for the experience.
No food in your system.
Yeah,
There's
no food in your system.
Factors.
If you didn't drink water or eat even just like a light snack just to get some sort of...
It could have been just a bad piercer too. So you get what you pay for. When you're in town and you look at everyone's prices and people are advertising the absolute cheapest price in town, you get what you pay for. You know, you go to someone who's experienced and you came to us. I don't have people pass out on us. We really do. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. If anything, it's like marking a belly button. You know how people get lightheaded because they're nervous, but no one ever passes out from pain or from anything like that anymore. So go to a proper piercer, do your homework. You will have a good experience and you'll have a much, much better experience overall. Don't do piercings at home. And silently judging you, looking forward to the results of that experiment. I am too. Super, super excited that the Briotech on the titanium. I have steel jewelry too. I think I'm going to try it on the steel as well to see if we can market for both. So, Little Mayo.
I wash my plugs with rubbing alcohol and my ears too after a shower. Is that okay? I mean, there's realistically, harsh. Yeah, alcohol can be pretty harsh. It is it's kind of not necessarily a tissue eating substance, kind of like how peroxide reacts to certain tissues, but it definitely dries. It draws out moisture and oils and everything, and you definitely kind of need that when it comes to ear lobes. You definitely don't want your lobes to be dry or...
They're not put it on there, but I mean, if you put the rubbing alcohol and put it directly on, it's going to affect your skin.
Yeah.
Now,
but I mean, if you use like an alcohol wipe to just clean your plugs, that's totally fine.
It's for glass plugs, but nothing else.
Yeah, but nothing else. I wouldn't use it on wood. I wouldn't use it on silicone. On silicone, it can probably start to break down the material, and putting it in your ears is not good. So
it's going to
it depends on the material.
So.
But
soap and water is all you need. For real. Just lather your hands up some good normal soap, put your plugs in there, and you just kind of wash it off. If you have crusties, they wipe right off there. Your piercing's healed. It doesn't need to be sterilized to that level. It just needs to get the general gunk off the top. Like your skin, when you take a shower, you're not sterilizing your skin, you're cleaning the area, and that's all you really need to do. So a lot of people overdo it with alcohol, peroxide, all these other chemicals. Soap is all you need. Soap and water. That's it.
We've got Astrid Posey. Do y'all prefer symmetrical or asymmetrical piercings on the face and ears? Personally, I am very symmetrical on the face, but when it comes to ears, I am very asymmetrical. I don't feel like ears are one of those things that should match 100%.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah, see, and then Scott is different. He likes to have everything matching, but there's certain piercings that I want that I just feel would clash with other piercings. So I have the conch on this side and not a doth on this side, but I do have the doth on this side here. I have a coin slot, forward helixes, and then here I want to get a faux rook because I have a vertical helix here, and then maybe a lobe or something, but that's really about it.
It's weird. I'm about balance for tattoos, but symmetry for piercings. You know, it's like you gotta have like the same amount, you know, but I would never get identical tattoos on both sides. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's just not my cup of tea. Speaking of tea, cheers from Dutch Brothers.
Cheers.
Woo!
Alrighty, so next up we have Alex Veilfor, I want to come from Romania to you. I have 0 gauge, 10 millimeter. I want to ask you if you can stretch my ear to 14 millimeter in one session. So
No.
stretching to 14 millimeter from a 00 or a 10 millimeter, no, we don't recommend that whatsoever. You can, if you wanted to jump any sort of size, I mean,
Tape.
Yeah, you can tape your ears ever so slightly, but I mean, going from size to size is really the only way that you should be stretching your ears.
1 millimeter at a time.
1
Don't
millimeter at a
overdo
time, maybe even halves. It really just depends on your tissue.
Look at my ears.
Yeah.
My earlobes, they're no longer existent because I lost my earlobes from overstretching my piercings. Eventually, you're just going to cut off the blood supply. Everything can start dying on you. It was a bad, bad situation. If you don't believe me, check out my video called Losing My Lobes. It's on Storytime if you look under playlists and things like that on our channel. But it was intense, so only do a little bit at a time. Now, honestly, in our shop, we don't really stretch people past 00 because we don't use tapers past 00. After that, you should start using like tape or Teflon tape or some sort of just natural stretching where it falls in on its own.
I recommend bondage tape. You can pick them up from any sort of adult superstore or even online, Amazon. Just get a good brand of it. But it has no adhesive on it. It's just tape that sticks to itself, and it's not sharp even after you cut it. It's meant for a lot of different things, but it's
Bondage.
meant to be bondage. Yes, exactly. But it's meant for just feeling nice and smooth and not sharp. And
it looks like electrical tape without the sticky adhesive.
Exactly.
Some people use electrical tape, which is totally fine, but honestly, like once the heat starts happening, the adhesive starts seeping out and you got gunk all over your ears. It's gross.
It's not good.
It might work for a day or two, and then you're just gonna have a mess. So it's either bondage tape or Teflon tape, which is the white plumber's tape, which goes on like shower heads and anything with threads where you're hooking up water. It works really, really well. Because I know back in the day, like tribes used to use palm leaves, and they'd use palm leaves to do a couple wraps on there, and that's how they stretch. And it was a natural process. And if it hurts, you're overdoing it. It's that simple. So I would love to have you come to our shop. I would love to pierce you, but we're not going to be able to stretch you like that. Sarah Wardle, Scott, do you have a plan to tongue split? No, that's weird. Only weirdos get their tongue split. I thought about it back in the day. I'm not completely opposed to it, but I don't really have it in my future. Maybe. Don't plant seeds like that. That's scary. Next week I'll be I can't talk. All right. And
all right, so we've got I'm so sorry. I want to say Gilliam
that looks about
Leonard.
right. Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for doing live again. Question to you both. Which piercing would you like to perform more often? Maybe for a challenge, being rare, or just coolness? Thanks. Honestly, so me personally, after doing Scott's Mantis piercings, I want to do more. So I'm super excited that I actually have a couple of people that want their Mantis piercings done by me. It's challenging because it's right at the tip of your nose, so it's right in the center of your face. So, it's challenging in that aspect, but they're a lot of fun to do, and they're pretty easy. It's just straightforward.
I think the challenge is going to be the shape of everyone's nose.
Yep,
Mine's completely different because I have a very flat on the tip, so it's easy to make them forward facing.
Exactly.
But if you had a point of your nose, like, do you bring it up? Do you bring it down? It's like getting it placed to look right for the nose. It's kind of a normal nostril piercing. You can play around with it a little bit, but it's on a flat surface, and it's easy to. This is definitely more of a challenge.
More ear project stuff. I just did an ear project on a super awesome client that I just met the other day, who let me pick the piercing location as well as the jewelry. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So maybe just more like ear curations that I can have a say in. So that was fun.
What would I want to do more of? My Piercing with Scott fans.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd love it if you guys come in and let me know you watch my channel so I can put some names to faces.
Yeah.
I've been piercing almost 30 years. A challenge is fun, but if my day is filled with those challenges all day long, I'm going to go home stressed out. Because I've been piercing a long time. A challenge is a challenge, and you can only take so much throughout a day. That's why it's good to have the bread and butter piercings, the navels, nipples, nostrils. I have to look at Kelsey to kind of name out the piercings. So yeah, but thank you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
All right, radar. Yeah, me and my mom got a helix piercing together. She knew she wanted it so bad,
I wanted it so bad, but was scared, and we got it together. She is 61. I love my mom so much. Aww.
Bonding with parents and
moms.
getting like, parent-child piercings at the same time is so cool. I did that the other day. You've done it before, yeah.
I just did father-daughter bonding piercings the other day. Yeah, she got her lobes pierced. Dad got his seconds done, and that was a really cool experience. It was so much fun. So, mom-daughter piercings. Yeah, I think it'd be cool to have like a mommy-daughter day or like a parent-daughter day or a parent-kid day where,
Fantastic.
It'd be so much fun.
All right, and silently, what? Before I move on to this, I've done it before where you get the kid coming in there and they're scared, so mom or dad decides they're going to do it first.
Yep.
They do it, and then the kid doesn't get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. They eventually come back. So, all right. Silently judging you. How do you do that hand gestures without it hurting? Hand gesture. Which ones are we talking about?
I don't know.
My hands are super.
What were we doing?
We
were doing this.
I wasn't doing spot.
I was doing. Wait, what's that one? Okay, anyways. Sorry.
Hopefully we didn't offend anyone with our sign language there in the last...
Have you seen those videos where people go on and they fake being an interpreter and they get in trouble for it? Oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous.
I'm not sure which hand signals you're talking about, but we probably did something crazy.
I love my piercer, but she works with surgical steel. My tragus isn't healing well, and I want to change it to titanium, but she refuses to change it before it's healed. How should I convince her? Well, it sounds to me like she cannot be convinced to swap from surgical steel or stainless steel to implant grade titanium. So I would maybe consider finding another piercer. Which is really hard.
Work with this one.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit more time so you can heal things up. You might be having problems, but once you get to the titanium, you should be better. Now, here's what I would do. I would say, hey, next time I get pierced, I'm getting my navel pierced. Can you please order me a titanium bar with your next order? Because I think I'm allergic to nickel and I need to have this. Mm-hmm. And there's a good chance... She's good. Every company carries titanium now. So
right. There are
it might be
companies,
a little upcharge.
Right.
But
it's only ever so slightly. There are so many reputable companies out there that carry both steel and titanium. So Invictus is a good start as far as titanium. It's a great start. We use a lot of Invictus. It's good quality, but not crazy cost. So as far as that goes, maybe try to convince them into looking into other companies that they might be able to order from, just to ensure that everyone's piercings are going to heal properly.
I've had fantastic luck with Invictus.
Mm-hmm.
So
Same
if
here.
you tell your piercer order through Invictus, tell them Scott sent you. Scott from Piercing with Scott, and I'm sure they're going to know who I am because I've talked to all those people. They are fantastic. You're going to get your order quick.
We get our jewelry every week.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Anytime we need something, we're like, hey, we need these pieces. It's there within 4 to 5 days. So
it's unbelievable. So they are fantastic. So that's what I would do. Heal it up, change over to the titanium, and then eventually next piercing, say, order that titanium for me. Mm-hmm. That's your best bet. So because if you love your piercer, I'm sure she's a good piercer.
Right.
But
we never want to leave the people that we like going to, especially if you're comfortable with that piercer. But if they're not comfortable changing certain things,
it's not easy
to be able to help take care of their clients. Then does that piercer really care about your well-being versus what they want to pay for jewelry? That's really harsh to say, but it's the truth.
Here's the thing, though. As a shop owner, and if your whole shop is stocked with steel, converting it is going to be a lot of money. So it's a step-by-step process. It's not like you drop all the steel, you slowly start building up your titanium collection until eventually you can just have a sale on your steel and get rid of all your steel, which is what I did. It took me almost a year to convert things over. I did steel for a long, long time, and once I realized how much more superior the titanium was, that's when I decided to make the change. But it's just a little bit at a time. And that's why you starting by asking her, say, hey, can you order this one thing for me? You're going to see how much better it heals up. And maybe you can help her get in that change. Yeah. So cool.
All right, and the next up we have Maren the Bug. Hi guys, do you have any advice on how to convince strict parents to let their teens get a septum piercing? I'm trying to get my dad to let me, and I could use some extra tips. Well, septums, whether you decide to keep it for life or not, is one, really easy to hide, and two, if you do decide to take it out, you cannot visibly see the scarring.
Correct.
It's not something that is going to affect you getting a job. It is not something that's going to really affect anything. This piercing is well hidden, and you know, if you decide to take it out, then it's like it never even happened. So, you know, you can maybe tell them that you can wear it flipped up during school if you're still in school or while you're at work. Yeah, it's one
Correct.
of those piercings that is just way easier to hide.
Yeah, it's easy to hide. It's not very painful, and it's not going to leave a scar. And if if you're going to a family event and your parents are embarrassed and they're not used to it yet, we've been through this.
Right.
You
just
flip it up, and it's just it just takes some time.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the best we can do. Now, Ursula's Odds and Sods. There's a piercer on YouTube who does all her nipple piercings with people wrapped in hospital drape. Is this common? I've never seen other piercers do this. Yeah, common? No. Now, okay, we're going to talk about piercers here for a second. There's some piercers who go so extremely far over the top
with draping and
like you'll
else.
see them like put drapes over the entire face, and you're trying to create a sterile field. I understand that.
Right, absolutely.
But if you're not using sterile drapes, it doesn't affect. Now, the thing is if you're saying for nipple piercings and completely draping, you can order those gowns and do that. It's generally to make the person feel more comfortable.
Right. I was going to say it's
procedure.
probably worn for clients who, you know, I do get a client every so often that would prefer to keep their clothing on and just lift up or pull it down so that it's just like, you know, this area is exposed, the area being pierced is exposed, but everything else is covered. Totally understand, and that could be why the piercer might be using those drapes, but
it could be
it's
because
just a
they're
sense
on
of
YouTube
comfortability.
and it's easier to cover too.
Right. Could be that they're on YouTube. It's easier for them to kind of hide what is actually going on, but I mean,
I guess the way I look at it is like if you go to the hospital and you're getting an exam done, they're going to give you the gown to try to cover up as much as you possibly can because you're standing there naked the whole time.
Right.
Now,
and they don't want you to feel overexposed.
But if you're coming in for a nipple piercing, you're already knowing that you're going to be fully exposed. You're in a private room. It's a very short amount of time.
And I personally, when cleaning and marking the area, I need no pressure pushing down on the breast tissue.
Correct.
And I need nothing. I don't want anything pushing up. So even if you just pull your bra down, you know, there could be padding and stuff that like during the cleaning and the marking looks straight then, but then once you take everything off and you look in the mirror, you're like, oh, that's not straight. Or clients that want to just wear lift up their shirt like this and have their hands up, you're now manipulating that breast tissue from, you know, being down naturally to now being up. And yeah, it's just I need everything to be not in the way.
I think the part people are most embarrassed about, or not embarrassed but are uncomfortable, is their stomach. If they have a tummy or whatever and they want to have their shirt or some sort of thing covering over because that's the area they want to cover. They don't care about the nipples. That part's getting pierced.
Right.
So it's whatever you're comfortable with. But yeah, you're right. It's like having a push-up bra, you know, and it's like we can't have that on during...
Something manipulating the tissue just to ensure that everything is going to come out nice and straight is, we just can't really have it in the way. But I mean,
And as far as the sterile field goes, like if you're like sterilizing something and you're creating a hole and then it's like where your hands rest, you're not cross-contaminating and so forth. It's, in my opinion, it's a step too far where it's scaring the client more than it's actually helping because you're leaving with an open wound. It's not being dressed like an open wound. So having it completely,
and then once that client
sterile,
leaves, they're putting their clothing back on. You know, you're not putting, I mean, I do sterilize 2 extra pieces of gauze with my setup so that when we are done, they then have something sterile to put over once they do put their clothing back on until they get home. But then once you get home, it's, you know, I mean, keeping things as sterile and clean as possible is super important. But sometimes it is just over the top.
People. Yeah.
It's a little over the top, and it's just so many unnecessary steps.
Thank you, Ursula.
Yeah.
Ronald Rosser, my question was skipped over. I was asked about A public piercing. Any additional problems with someone heavy?
I'm thinking of pubic piercing.
I think it's pubic piercing. I apologize for missing that. I'm bad at missing questions, apparently. I did that last week, too. So basically, a pubic piercing is, I'm hoping that's what you're talking about, is where the penis meets the body. There's this little crease, and that's where a pubic piercing is going to go. Now, you're asking if it's going to be a problem if you, for someone a little bit heavier.
It can be, depending on, how tissue rests. So if there's
a lot of folds.
Right, if there's a lot of folds. So if you're getting pierced in that creased area and then you have a tummy, I personally, I myself, if I were to get a pubic piercing, I have 2 children. I have that mommy flap. If I were to get something like that, I would then have to be concerned of that tissue resting over the piercing, causing issues, bacterial infections, just several different things. So it can affect it in ways. It just depends on where the piercing is placed, as long as it's not placed in a fold or where tissue is going to be kind of suffocating that piercing, because we do need piercings to kind of breathe. So
there's got to be a crease, not a crevice.
Exactly.
Yes. All right.
Radar 61 is not old, but I agree that you are never too old for a piercing.
Oh, couldn't agree
100%.
More. But I mean, a lot of people think that once you hit 30, you're too old for piercings.
That's not.
I grew up and took my piercings out. You grew boring. Yeah.
Oh, Christina 777. My Nana just got a flat piercing and she's 72.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Way to go, Nana.
Alex Valafor, I want to come from Marania to you. Oh, we already.
Yep.
Sorry. Just Erica. Is it normal to not see any discharge or crusties weeks after a piercing? There is no pain or redness. Well, that's great. It means that your piercing is healing really well. So
it does happen
keep it clean and leave it alone. It happens once in a while.
It's kind of a rarity. Good for you, though. It's not bad. Now, the only time I would ever say is if you don't have crusties and it's getting really, really painful and red around the area, you could be getting an abscess where things are getting trapped under there and it's not actually draining. But this is extremely, extremely rare for piercings. So, if there's no pain, no redness, you're golden. Congratulations.
Michelle Valentine. Please give me more information on double medusa. I have a gestrum and would love to add a tiny medusa on top. One Philtrum piercing or 2? Because you said a double medusa. I have a gestrum. So with the gestrum, that looks like a Philtrum piercing, but the bead also comes down from the bottom.
Vertical.
So I'm going to imagine that's the first one. So you want to get another one. It depends on where your webbing is. If you have enough room to get a secondary piercing right above it. I've only met so many people that can do that. I have 2 clients that I have pierced double Philtrums, double medusa, sorry.
If you did almost like angel bites and brought them way in, you know how you have that the divot and you did it on the peaks? You could do a double, and then that way you have an upside down triangle with a gestrum, cool. And that might be kind of fun. I don't think it'd be easy to heal.
Ooh, I wonder.
I've never thought about that before.
You're going to be piercing me soon. Maybe that, because I wanted to get my hymen rose, but maybe we can do something up here just to go Closer in.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That's a good idea. Thanks for the idea, yes. Michelle. Awesome.
So hopefully that's what you're saying. If you're talking about doing 2 vertical medusas on top of the gestrum, you have to have a really, really long upper lip, and chances are that web on the inside is going to be right in the way. So odds are in your favor right there.
Yeah. And then from B, I had my Madonna pierced 20 years ago, and it went horribly wrong as I went to a piercer who didn't pierce it properly, and the bar was always pinching. I had surgery because my face grew over the bar.
Oh, no.
Yikes. That sounds terrible. I'm really sorry that you went through that. Sounds to me like the piercer used something that was a little bit too short.
Or too small.
Yeah,
well,
on
the
inside.
Either
too small or too short. If it had the small disc on the inside, you could have had a bunch of issues from that. This is one of those situations also where although the piercer did use something that was potentially too short or too small of a backing for a lip piercing. For lip piercings, we always want to use the larger backs. We have 2.5 or 3 millimeter, and then we have 4 millimeter discs for the backs. Any lip piercing, because of the soft tissue, we want you to use the larger one. But once a piercing starts to swell up like that, if it feels like it's pinching and the jewelry is sinking in, whether it be on the inside or the outside, I would recommend getting something. Yeah, call your piercer. you know, whatever you can just to avoid the jewelry embedding and then healing over on the inside. So it's important on your guys' ends as well to make sure that your piercings are okay.
Yeah.
So
now, 20 years ago, I remember seeing a lot of people using nose bones in Madonnas, and and it was just a nose bone. That's like a little tiny bead here, and then the gem on the outside, but they're made so thin because people want just the smallest, cutest little thing, and it's like that's not what's appropriate. So sorry you had such a bad experience. Will Jones. What is your thoughts on scalpeling lobes? I'm getting my left lobe done when I restretch. Getting my left lobe done when I restretch my lobes to get up to the proper.
Lined up properly to the right one.
Gotcha. Sometimes you need to do relief cuts. A relief cut means you stretch your ears. Your ears can almost look like a teardrop shape, and sometimes you need to do a cut along the ear this way to kind of get it more round and to sit your ears more flat against your ears this way instead of sticking out this way.
I had relief cuts on mine done a couple years ago.
I had too, and it flattens them out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it flattens them out. So I actually, right here, I don't know if you want to switch the camera so I can kind of show a little bit better, if it'll reach me. So here on my ears, I had this lump of tissue here because I used to put my plugs in from the bottom and then from the back to the front like that, if you can imagine that. So I had a lump of tissue here that looked kind of like a blowout, and right here in the antitragus area, right where my soft tissue meets the cartilage, it would just apply a lot of pressure. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do a relief cut and see if that kind of helps save my lobes, because at this point I'm overstretching and it's just irritating. So we actually cut from here and then across here to about here is where you can see.
So you remove tissue.
Yep. So we actually remove tissue.
That's not the same as a normal relief cut. Just so
the relief cuts, yeah. And then we sutured all the way from here, going up and then across there. Might be able to see a little bit better on
now the relief cuts I'm talking about is just a single little cut. Normally it's like a 1/4 inch, but when things open up, it gives you all new tissue and brings the piercing further up in your ear. Sometimes when you have massive scarring like that and problems, then you need to do a little bit of tissue removal, but that's where it starts getting a little bit more complicated. I've seen people have massive problems with tissue removal. Now in a situation like yours, your tissue removal,
I feel like relief cuts, because then it's an open wound, there's no suturing or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that would be kind of problematic, because then that's like a big open wound.
I've had two. No, but you put the glass plug in there and it's just like healing the piercing up.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you remove tissue on the bottom part of the lobe, then the lobe starts getting too thin.
I don't
that's why you only go through the top.
Don't remove any tissue down here on the bottom, only at the top for the relief cuts.
Okay, so we are going to blast through these here as quick as we can because we don't have much more time. We'll maybe do another 5 or 7 minutes here. So, B, can I re-pierce it? Yes, you can totally re-pierce your Madonna. Should be totally fine. Twist, Turns, and Tarot. Hello from Oklahoma. I just want to say that you're both absolutely fabulous and are very inspirational.
Thank you.
We're so glad you're here. Glad we can be an inspiration to you. And Sylvia, I'm not saying your last name, sorry.
What is your opinion on silicone no-pull piercing discs for bumps on cartilage piercings? Are they good and safe for healing piercings? Thanks for the awesome videos and live streams.
I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. They work fantastic as long as you get rid of the source of the problem. If you're sleeping on your piercing, the disc isn't going to do anything. If you don't get rid of the source of the problem, the bump will never, ever go away.
Right.
But yeah, they can work amazing. Egg Baby had something retracted. Yaya says...
Hi, Scott and friends. Hello.
Hello. Radar crying. Yeah. We love you. Was Radar the one doing the home pierce? No. What was that? Oh, that was the stretching one.
Yep,
stretching one. Yeah. Exactly. You stretch your hands all like a heart.
Wayne McDaniel, thoughts on vampire bites?
Vampire bites. Are you talking the neck ones here with? Is that the vampire bites?
I'm not really sure. Or the vampire bites are the vertical, but like inside.
Oh, the inverse. Yeah.
Inverse. So they look like the angel fangs, but it's reversed. So the bead is on the inside underneath the lip here, and then the spike comes out through the bottom. It really depends on the anatomy. I don't necessarily recommend having beads on the inside or even discs just because of the shape of that piercing, making those nice and flat on the inside.
If you have the right curve, you can make it flat. If you have the right curve and angle. But the tissue is so soft, the chance of rejecting and coming out is pretty darn high. Okay.
Bruh, you for real. Oh my God, I made it to the live stream. Let's go.
Triple X, Alex from England, and I recently got my septum pierced, and the piercing shop said don't clean it, just leave it alone. But I've heard conflicting information on cleaning these. What are you? I get hiccups every episode. That was it. I almost made it all the way through this time. Made it.
Okay. So my spiel on aftercare would be keep it clean, leave it alone, no rotating, spinning, picking, no rubbing alcohol, peroxide, Bacti, Neosporin, no antibacterial soap, sea salt soaks, cotton balls, Q-tips, fingertips. Keep it clean, leave it be. Sterile saline solution 2 to 3 times a day. That's really it.
To
soap
keep
and water.
crusties off. That's it. It doesn't heal it for you. You're keeping the crusties off. Because if it spins and rotates, it's going to sting and hurt. That's doing damage. Get rid of the damage.
No makeups, oils, lotions, nothing like that. You just got to keep it clean, leave it alone. Septums heal up pretty well by themselves. Just spray it down with some saline, and it should be just fine within a matter of just a couple weeks.
Egg Baby. Hi, Scott. Hello from Canada. I'm wondering if you have advice on how to sleep with cheek piercing/dermal. I'm a stomach sleeper, and it's the biggest reason why I'm putting off for so long. One of those donut piercing pillows will probably be the answer. If you can't help it, don't fight it. Just get one of those pillows that's hollow so you're not actually putting your cheek on the actual piercing. It's going to be a longer healing process. It's going to be kind of tough, but that's your only really option. Will Jones, my piercer, said he would pierce my conch with a 14 instead of 16 because it heals nicer. I plan to stretch to a 10. What are your thoughts on that?
Get it pierced at a 10.
Go to a 10.
Get it pierced at a 10. Don't even bother doing the 16 to a 14 or whatever.
Cartilage can be rough, but you can still do it.
Cartilage can be rough, but you can do it. I recommend if you plan on stretching it anyway, start as big as you possibly can.
Yeah, yep.
And then we have...
Not as big as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Like anything like beyond 10, you're going to have a tougher time healing with a needle because you're not removing tissue.
Exactly.
It's a crescent. So I think 10's about as big as I would go. I had mine done with 4 gauge and it literally felt like someone took some bats and just popped me in the side. It was brutal.
Got your ears boxed.
There's a point of getting too much. So
we have Jackie just wanted to say hi and about when can I change my jewelry for my eyebrow. Love the content. 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 months typically is about how long an eyebrow piercing takes. So as long as it's fully healed, your piercer should know. Karina, catching up with my nostril. I got mine 6 weeks ago and I tried changing it, but ended up leaving the old one in because I was not able to pull it out because of the strange angle. Any tips? Don't change it out just yet. It's only 6 weeks old. It's not ready to be swapped out. 4 to 6 months to a full year typically is about how long a nostril piercing takes. And if it was done with an L bend...
Yeah, strange
because
angle.
of the strange angle on the jewelry itself.
It shouldn't affect it.
It shouldn't affect it.
That means you have crusties still and you're not ready to change your jewelry.
Yeah, keep it clean, leave it alone. Next 4 to 6 months. Should be good. Silently judging you. I judge you guys to be pretty cool.
Nice save.
Sometimes I feel pretty cool.
Thank you.
Paula Nicole Lazo. Double forward helix has bumps on top part of them and looks like they're getting closer to my tragus. The bottom one points down at an angle. Pierced at 18 gauge. Would it help to go bigger?
No.
No. It sounds to me like your piercings were done at a pretty gnarly angle.
Not necessarily, because if you're doing the forward helix, sometimes it tucks in and it might point down a little bit more. So a forward helix,
you just kind of like a conch. You want it to go with the shape of the actual ear itself. Same with the forward helix.
But it's almost like an upper dot. Sometimes when they get lower, they can change angles a little tiny bit.
Yeah.
Now, if you have bumps, there's something else going on. Either you're sleeping on it or the jewelry's way too big or way too small.
Yep.
So maybe a shorter or longer bar, but that would probably be it. Also, no headphones, anything pressing against there will cause problems. Check out some emu oil. That might help you out. I love that emu oil.
Same person, Paula Nicole Laza says, and 6-year-old left nipple piercing is always irritated. You could possibly favor that side more than the other side while you're sleeping. A lot of times when someone has issues with symmetrical piercings, even earlobes, for example, sleeping on whichever side, if you do sleep on it, that side's going to take a little bit longer to heal than the other side.
Now, they said that it might have been too deep. Now, if it's deeper into the areola, it's contorting tissue, and that might be why it's a little bit more irritated and sore. And is it the right size bar? Because you have two of the exact same bars, and one's pierced deeper, one might be too tight. So those are all factors to think about. Will Jones. Scott, what size is your flat punches? I want mine done at 0 gauge to celebrate when I get my apprenticeship. If all goes as planned, I should be 18 or 19 if all goes as planned. Right on. Mine was originally done in 0 gauge. Mine was straight to a 0, and we didn't stretch, and I had a lot of bleeding. I believe that's in my story time, too, which means you should always pierce or punch and stretch if you're doing something like that, so you can avoid the hospital trips. Yeah.
And then we got GD. I'm a male, just got my belly button pierced. We call those manvols around here. I mean, I do.
Right on.
A manvol. Heck yeah. I'd love to do more of those, by the way, for everybody watching who wants to get pierced by me. More manvols. We need more men with belly button piercing.
All right.
Belly button pierced today, and it was marked straight and looks straight, but it looks slightly crooked. Could it be because it is freshly pierced? So if it was marked straight and it looked straight after it was pierced, you could now have some swelling, and 9 times out of 10, during the swelling and the healing process, it will appear kind of crooked because of how the tissue is deciding where it wants to be swollen. So, yeah.
Yeah, so if it looks straight, like just what Kelsey said, it'll probably go back. But take a closer look if, it's... I'm guessing it's the swelling, but if it's been more than a week or two, the swelling should have gone down, and it's probably not going to change angles. If it's crooked, the sooner you take it out, the sooner you get it re-pierced. And if it's going to bother you, change it out. But give it some time to make sure the swelling's gone down. Nessie B, thank you once again for answering my questions. Love you guys.
Very welcome.
Love you too. And honestly, I think we're going to take just like 3 more questions here, and then we have to get going. We got to get Kelsey to work here. Lil Mayo says, thank you. I was thinking I was doing a good thing using rubbing alcohol. I decided it sterilizes, so I'll use it for my jewelry. You're very welcome. Again, no alcohol to clean your jewelry. Just use soap and water. Radar, I'm the same way about my ears. I'm wanting a rook piercing, but it's just on my right ear. GD.
We read that one.
Okay.
And then, bruh, you for real, Scott, I need to know, why did you retire your tongue piercing?
I retired all of my oral piercings. Okay, you get a little story here. I was piercing this group of ladies who were, when I worked at St. Sabrina's, the place across the street was a place for training for hearing impaired and for vision impaired. So they were teaching people how to deal with that. And I had this group of like 4 or 5 girls come in who wanted piercings done, but most of them were hearing impaired, and the only one who could read lips was the one that was completely deaf. And I had Monroe's, 2 tongue piercings, 2 lip piercings, and 2 low breaths. And they were all stretched. So do you think my lips moved in a normal way?
Not at all.
This lady couldn't understand a word because I had to repronounce everything. And after that situation where I couldn't communicate with my clients, I was like, this might be a little bit much. I took them all out. It was all steel jewelry, and I was like, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah,
and then I realized
most of my friends who have the larger stretched lip down here, sometimes I wonder how, they talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like with the weight of the jewelry, because my ex had his stretched really big, and if he just relaxed his face, it would just flop down like this. Wow. It was like, I don't know how you talk with that in there. It's crazy.
So yeah, I adjusted, and because I couldn't communicate is why I retired my tongue piercings. I'm pretty darn sure it's still open. And we're going to take...
We already did that one. I've had an eyebrow pierced for 8 months.
This is just Erica. I got my eyebrow pierced. We did? Okay.
She messaged twice.
Okay. And
issues.
The Mad Molly Quinn. I've had an eyebrow piercing for 8 months.
Doesn't look agitated or infected, but when I clean it, I have a little bit of white stuff that comes out of the bottom hole. Is that okay? Totally normal.
Yeah.
It's normal healing, piercing, discharge. It happens. It's going to happen.
It's dead skin cells mixed with oils, and your body just pushes it out. A little bit of white out of there once in a while is not a big deal. It's when it's thick yellow or a discharge of actual pus. That's signs of an infection. And last person we're taking here is Theophia.
I went to a new piercer, and my nipple piercing was done wrong. It became a half nipple, half areola piercing. It was done too deep on the left part. How long must I wait for it to heal before re-piercing it? After retiring it, I'd probably wait 3 to 6 months. before re-piercing it.
It depends on how long you had it. If you've only had it for a couple days or you took it out after a week or so, sometimes as soon as a month. It depends on how much scar tissue is there. If there's not a lot of scar tissue, you can't feel it, you're fine to get it. But sometimes it does take several months for all that scarring to kind of completely go back to a normal status. And you can always use scar tissue remover to do that. Now, this is where we're winding it up today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll be doing this again next week. I think I might be doing a later evening one next week. So maybe we'll tune in. Like right now, it's 1 o'clock here. I'll probably start the live chat probably around 6 or 7 o'clock at night this next Friday. Cool. So we're changing things up a little bit. Again, love you all. Thanks for all your amazing questions. If you haven't done so already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and of course, keep putting holes in your body.